Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast. Happy Friday, August 28th, 2020. Just got off a teleconference with Dan Radakovich, Clemson's AD, who gave us some clarity on their plans for hosting home football games this fall. Now, I tell you, I'm stoked that some fans are going to be able to be there. But gosh, what just a kind of a gut punch just to know that, or for it to be reinforced into reality that the typical atmosphere that we know and love and atmospheres at a lot of other places as well, it just ain't going to happen. Again, not a surprise. You knew it was coming, but just sort of seeing the finality of it, still a bit of a punch in the gut to those of us who know and love all the rituals and traditions of college football. But we got a column just published at TigerIllustrated.com featuring that conversation with Dan Radakovich and plenty of other football-related content coming later through the day and through the weekend. Title sponsor of the Dubcast since the very beginning, back in August of 2018, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. They want you to know that their office remains open and available to serve you during the COVID-19 crisis. They are also offering their clients the ability to meet via telephone or through video conferencing. Whether you have a loved one who has suffered from a car accident, defective product, a neglectful nursing home facility, or medical malpractice issue, Parham Smith & Archenhold's Greenville lawyers can provide the protection and guidance you need. Free consultations, 864-990-4581, or on the web at parhamlaw.com. That's Parham law.com. Football season is grilling season, and Jack Oliver's Pool, Spa, and Patio is South Carolina's premier source for the big three names in grills: Weber, Traeger, and my favorite, the Big Green Egg. Make the most of your stay-at-home tailgate party with a premium gas, charcoal, or pellet grill from Jack Oliver's. Their 10,000 square foot showroom offers a huge selection of grills, patio furniture, and hot tubs and saunas. Shop in the store or buy online at Jack Oliver's Pool, Spa, and Patio, 3303 Forest Drive in Columbia, and jackoliverpools.com. Okay, that's a nice segue into this conversation with David Hale, because we talk some about our Big Green Eggs and our experiences in smoking and cooking and grilling and all the wonders that we have discovered as relatively new and proud owners of Big Green Eggs. But first, of course, a lot of football talk, Clemson talk, college football talk, and all the craziness that's been going on. All right, David Hale, we got a lot of important stuff to talk about. Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton masks, Big Green Egg.
Yeah, important stuff.
Our job, college football, the thing our jobs.
I haven't really paid any attention to that, so I don't know about that.
How are you?
Oh, same as I've been for the last 50 years or 6 months, whatever amount of time it's been. I can't keep track anymore.
What is your daily routine like recently? It's just been, everything's just been, turned upside down. Like what's your process?
I think you could probably make a good case that I got into the wrong profession, because I despise being on the phone. Like, I hate being on the phone. And that is pretty much all I have done for the last, few months at least. It's making calls. And it's one thing to make calls because you think there's a story there. It's another thing to make calls and just be like, hey, what's up? Can you tell me what's going on about things? Is there anything I can write about? We're in as close to a cold calling telemarketing business as you can be in right now, because the fact of the matter is stuff is changing minute by minute. You're casting as wide a net as you can to try and get information. You're calling and talking to people you really never expected you would need to talk to. I mean, you look at the stories that are out there about, parents around the Big Ten's protesting and Nebraska players filing a lawsuit. And so now you're calling parents and lawyers on top of all the other calls that you're making. And it's just, it's the job, I guess. I shouldn't be complaining. I still have a job, but boy, it is not my favorite part about the job.
I mean, when you get into this business, most people aspire to be a quote unquote national college football reporter. But I gotta say, as all these unpredictable things are popping up seemingly every day, I mean, honestly, I would probably, and as you're, following, like, talking about not just you, but Ralph Russo and Ross Dellinger and Mark Schlabach and the people who are charged with covering all this stuff and being on top of it, like, there's no break. There's no capacity to plan for a break, really. And I mean, honestly, I'd rather work at a Chick-fil-A during some of these times.
You make work at Chick-fil-A sound bad. I don't know. Those people always seem like they're in a really good mood. I have a lot of admiration for Chick-fil-A employees. And I don't want to complain about it. It's just, we are in a very strange time right now. And the general truth is, like, people don't know, the news really is changing. Like, it's sort of trite and cliche to say, like, oh, it's changing by the hour, but it kind of is. And again, like, you're not even just going to your typical sources to try to get information. You're going way outside of what nobody was prepared for this. And it's this weird perfect storm of obviously you have the virus and all that means in terms of playing or not playing, and concerns around individual programs and how they're doing testing protocols and all of that. In my normal day-to-day life, of course, I am a Syracuse graduate, but I don't end up writing a ton of Syracuse stories because Syracuse is not typically a super good team that's at the forefront of getting national attention. But when Syracuse players decide multiple times that they're sitting out practice because of concerns, well, now I better have some Syracuse phone numbers in my Rolodex, and this is sort of the big problem that you get. There is, I think this virus has in so many ways shone a light on all kinds of limitations in our society, within college football, certainly how the media does its job. And I think one of the things that I've taken away from this is you just there's never a point in which you say, like, I'm in a good place, I can really rest on my laurels here. Like, the Pandora's box that has been opened has really kind of forced everyone to say, like, okay, well, you got to go make build a whole bunch of new relationships and create new sources. And again, make calls that is certainly not my favorite thing to do. And boy, I have nothing but the utmost respect for the people who do this really well. I feel like I'm kind of hanging on for dear life and hoping I don't screw anything up so bad, and hoping that I can kind of chip in with something decent from time to time. But then you look at people like Mark Schlabach, who, just chews this stuff up and spits it back out, and I have no idea how people like him do this job.
How much of a danger is there for reporters who are covering this and who are, in most cases, supposed to be or paid to report, to also balance the reporting with their opinions? Because I think that, I think we agree that the whole criticism of, the media's pulling for the virus and the media doesn't want college football to happen is utterly ridiculous. But there is a shred of, I think at least, and you can disagree, of reporters who deal more in opinion, who are staking themselves to that opinion, and therefore not being open to maybe events or revelations that might chip away at that opinion. You see what I'm saying? How much of how much substance is there now more than ever to the notion of, hey, just report because what you say on Tuesday could look foolish on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And I mean, this is, again, the virus has shown a light on, I think, an issue that is certainly one worth talking about way before all of this. But, to your point, it really kind of makes things stand out. Now, look, I think a lot of the people who say, the media is rooting for the virus, they have their own rooting interests here, that they're their own biases that they're not taking too close a look at. Is there an element of people are rooting to be right here? Yeah, I think that's true. That's part of sort of the polarization of our country right now, I think, is that, without getting too into the weeds on politics, I think that we have a real issue with people who would rather be righteous than correct. And that is frustrating to me. And that's not just a media problem. I personally try to be, my politics, my opinion is that I am a pragmatist. I am, give me rationale, give me an explanation. I don't have a problem with people inserting their opinions from a media standpoint. Now, I think there is a different outlet for each of these things. What I will share on Twitter is drastically different than what I would put into a story that runs on ESPN.com. There are two different marketplaces of ideas, to use the old terminology. But part of the reason that I'm as open as I am on Twitter is I believe in transparency. Like, know who I am, know what it is that I'm thinking, and what where I am coming from in my approach, because that way, you're not wondering if I have some secret bias. I'd rather, I'd rather exactly what it is that I'm thinking, and you can take that into account as you read anything that I write. And I struggle with the term of objectivity, because I think people want to view this as you weight everything equally, and I don't think that's the case either. Our job is not to amplify distruth, if that's the case. Our job is not to amplify something that is what I would consider to be morally wrong. Our job is to tell the truth, and sometimes that means taking all the evidence that you have and putting it out there in a very concise argument for or against something without necessarily having to take the other side at equal weight. That's not objectivity to me. That is sort of removing yourself from having any responsibility towards providing information. But I think at the forefront of all of this, and this is true of the media, it's true of schools, it's true of leagues, as we're seeing, is that transparency is the best thing that you can do here, and I've said this all along, is that with this virus, there is not an answer, right? Nobody has the right answer. And I'm just amazed at the people on social media who think that they've got it all figured out, while people making, with literally hundreds of millions of dollars on the line don't know the answers and admit that they don't know the answers, but some guy on Twitter knows all the answers. That, take a step back and realize it is way more complicated than that. And this is true of a lot of the issues we're dealing with, social justice issues and all of that. There's not right answers. So the best thing you can do is show your work, explain why it is that you have come to the conclusion that you've come to for now, and then be open to changing your mind as new information comes in. I don't know why this is all so taboo, that you can't say like, oh, I did the best I could given the information I had. New information came in, and now I have a different opinion on things because I've been enlightened. That's what life is, man. You learn through your experiences, and it frustrates me that anyone is not open to that, but particularly in the media. I think there's nothing wrong with taking a stand on something principled based on the best information that you have. But when you're dealing in you're making a false argument, you're dealing in bad faith, that to me is a problem. And when you're unwilling to let go of an argument that has been proven incorrect, that is a problem. And so when people say, I think the media is rooting for the virus, to me, that is just patently false and ridiculous. But I do think there's, to your point, probably an element of people who are hoping very hard that they're right and don't have egg on their face. But we shouldn't be putting egg on people's faces for taking a stand about things, as long as they were not dealing in bad faith, as long as they had a good rationale for doing it.
It's been quite a few months for Dabo Swinney, with sort of the foundations of everything he has found familiar sort of in his industry over the decades, sort of shaking and being sort of reformed, I guess. It does seem that he has shown some admirable sort of flexibility in his thinking. I guess the example The most recent example would be the social media stance, sort of backing down some on that, allowing his players to have a voice. What have you learned from him over the last several months?
I think this is, again, one of those times where I think we all need to have a little grace, right? Because there is, this is not an easy time for anyone. And I at the top of this, I can complain about how stressful my job is. That's a piece of cake compared to what a lot of people are going through. But as hard as it is, I think for the people who are dealing very head on with a lot of things, it's very hard for people like Dabo, I think, too. And look, he makes a lot of money to deal with hard things. So I'm not giving him some grand forgiveness for any missteps in all of this. But just understanding that, we don't all come to the same place at the same time in the same way. And I think Dabo is learning and adjusting and being flexible and being more open probably than he was even just a few months ago. But you gotta, I think the best thing you can do in this world is have some empathy for the people around you, to be willing to at least try to put yourself in their shoes for a minute. So try to put yourself in Dabo's shoes and look at it through his vantage point. This is a guy who his entire life has been predicated on following in his own beliefs against person after person after person telling him he's wrong and he can't do it. And he has shown them to be wrong over and over and over again. That is a reason to be very staunch in who you are and what you believe in. So to reach a point now where he's being asked to reevaluate some of the way he has done things and the things he believes in and say, well, maybe there's a better way, that's a lot to ask of somebody given the background that he has. And the fact that he is maybe not as quickly or as energetically as some people would like, that he is doing it, I think is admirable. The other side of it, I've talked about this a lot. I did a story on Dabo and Will Healy who's the coach at Charlotte, when the two teams played each other last year, and about how at the time, before Jeff Scott left for USF, Dabo really didn't have a coaching tree despite this massive success. It's pretty much him and Urban and Saban over the last decade plus, and Urban and Saban have plenty of assistants other places, and Dabo didn't. So why is that? What does it mean? And my argument was that a lot of the younger coaches like Will Healy, Matt Campbell out of Iowa State, they're sort of emulating the way they do the job around how Dabo has done the job. And when I asked Dabo, I said, who do you think does the job like you? Who do you think is most like you? One of the names that he mentioned was not a young coach. It was, in fact, Mac Brown. So I reached out to Mac and I said, hey, what's your relationship with Dabo? What do you think about all of this? And boy, he was great talking about it. But one thing that he said that has really stuck with me is he was talking about his time at Texas, and after they won their national championship, and he's like, the whole world changes. He's like, you strive for this your entire coaching career, and then you get it. And everything that you thought it was going to be, it is that and so much more. All these good things start to happen. And then there is nothing but pressure on you to keep those good things happening. The money that's flowing in, the attention, the positive stuff all around your program. I mean, it is just everybody. There's so many people pawing at you saying, keep that coming, make that happen again. Meanwhile, there's a whole other level of spotlight that's put on you and criticism that comes with every decision that you're making. Because, when you're at the top, people focus on not just your greatness, but your flaws. And, what Max said was, I really started to get away from the core of what I wanted to be as a football coach and what I believed in. And it made me miserable. It made me unhappy. I didn't like the job anymore by the time it ended. And that's just, if you know anything about Mac, that is sort of a hard thing to wrap your head around, because he is so steadfast in those same core beliefs, which I think mirror Dabo's in a lot of ways. And I think that's a little bit of what Dabo is dealing with right now, is there's tremendous pressure on him because of all that he has built at Clemson, to keep building, to keep that money coming in, to keep that attention coming in, to keep all of the things in his orbit that are benefiting from his success. They want to keep benefiting. And at the same time, for a long time, he got to be little old Clemson and Dabo Swinney, the coach nobody believed in. He's not that guy anymore. The world has changed around him, and there is more criticism on Clemson and more spotlight on them, and they're under a stronger microscope than they have ever been. And some of that criticism is entirely justified, and a lot of it is not at all. And it is really hard, I'm sure, as a coach, to determine which of it is justified and which of it isn't. You want to be defensive. I just rewatched the Michael Jordan documentary with my wife the last few days because she didn't watch it the first time around. And, you hear a lot of Jordan talking about that. Like, for so long, it was everybody loved Michael Jordan, and then he got to the top, and then it was like, let's tear down Michael Jordan. I don't think it was tear down Michael Jordan. It was just, let's take a closer look. And it wasn't all good because none of us are all good. So, I think that's a lot of what it is. But again, putting myself into Dabo's shoes and trying to be empathetic about this situation, I have no doubt that it's really, really hard, that it has taken a personal toll on him. And I hope that is nobody's goal and agenda. I think some of the criticism, again, is justified. Some of the things that needed to be said. And to Dabo's credit, I think he is listening to some of that now. But again, I genuinely appreciate how difficult that road is.
If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith & Archambault. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. They have, at last check, 0 positive tests from their most recent round of testing, which I think was Monday. I guess what would you have said back in, I guess that was mid-July when they had their outbreak, 37, I guess, total. What would you have said if back then you fast forward and say, they would have gone a month and a half, I guess, with maybe 1 positive? And what does it mean? I mean, do you think that this means they can keep pressing forward and that there's actually a sort of a ray of hope as far as playing football is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, on one hand you have that. On the other hand, you have NC State postponing a game because like half their team is in quarantine right now. And this has sort of been the most frustrating part of this virus, is that every ray of hope comes with this dark cloud too. And so, I think you look at Clemson and you say, and I, for what it's worth, I had a similar conversation with someone at LSU where their timeline kind of matches up with Clemson's a good bit, is that they had this kind of outbreak in late June and early July. And I think it was a wake-up call for the program, like, hey, this is no joke. Like, we're going to lose football season if we don't get our act together about this. I think there is something to be said about when you have a whole bunch of folks that have had it, that reduces your number probabilities-wise of people who can get it again, which is not to say that I'm a believer in herd immunity fixing all of this. It's not going to. But
you're not a proponent of Corona parties?
I'm a proponent of parties with Corona beers, but no, the rest of it, no, I don't recommend. But I mean, look, it's a fact of the matter is, if you it's strictly probabilities. If you only have 150 people there that you're testing and 50 of them have already tested positive, then your odds of that other 100 are being reduced. It's not 0 though. And as we've seen, the problem is it only really takes 1. And that's sort of what's happening at a number of campuses right now, is where if you have if your center tests positive, you now have probably 20 people that are going into quarantine because of contact tracing, whether they're positive or not. That's 2 weeks of quarantining. And that's one thing to shut down some practices during camp. It's another thing when this happens during the season, which is pretty much a near inevitability at this point. So I think you can take some very positive things, but then you look around it. I mean, look at what the general population student situation is at North Carolina or NC State or Notre Dame. And it's just, you just, again, every step forward comes with a step back. And that's the real frustration with all of this. And I don't know. I think better testing, quicker testing will help. How soon we can do that, the folks that I've talked to, it's not next week. It might be next month. It might be more like the end of October, at which case we're pretty far down the road already. So I don't know. I want to be optimistic. When we talked to Mac Brown the other day, he said he's more optimistic than he's been at any point. Dabo has always been an optimist. I enjoy hearing that. It makes me feel better. But their job is to be optimistic. I think realistically, there are still a lot of big hurdles here.
All right, most important, and I'm joking, tongue in cheek. Your adventures with the Big Green Egg. You got an extra large Big Green Egg. What? Late spring, early summer?
Yes, this was I think like the first couple of weeks of. Well, yeah, it was maybe early April. I would say. Like, we were a little bit into the quarantine, and I was like, something's got to give here. I need to start grilling, and so I went out and bought a Big Green Egg, and I go out and spend money on stupid things that my wife gets mad at me for a lot. But this was a brilliant purchase because my wife is as excited about it as I am. Because the food comes out great and she didn't have to cook any of it. So if you're this is my advice to anyone. If you're gonna go spend, more money than your wife would typically be happy with, the Big Green Egg, that's a way to go because a week into cooking, they'll be turned around on your idea too.
The two smartest purchases I've made over the last 12 years, a boat in 2008 and a Big Green Egg a year ago, just for the enjoyment that you get out of it and the family type of sort of rewards that you talk about. What's your favorite thing you've smoked or cooked so far?
I'm really trying to explore. I will say, fish you can't go wrong on. Like I'm a cedar plank guy, so you soak the cedar planks and then grill the fish on top of the cedar planks. Get it around 350, and I have yet to screw it up. We got barbecue. We ordered takeout from one of the good Charlotte barbecue places the other day. And my wife, who was, it was one of the days of the week when she decided it was better to eat healthy than eat delicious, got salmon salad from them. And she's like, this salmon is not anywhere near as good as the salmon you grill. And I was like, that's what I want to eat. You keep telling me this, but you just can't screw up fish. Red meat in general, been terrific. I did, the other day we did, ribs and wings, and I smoked them in a dry rub, and I was like in a food coma for the better part of the next 24 hours. I ate so much, but it was just terrific. The one thing that I've been sort of hit or miss on is grilled chicken, like boneless, skinless chicken, because it's so easy to screw it up because there's not a lot of flavor there to work with. So, your marinade is critical to that, and getting the cook time just right is critical because once you dry out, boneless, skinless chicken, there's nothing left there to enjoy. But I did it with this like jerk rub the last time and took it off at like 145 and let it cook in its own for a little bit. And that turned out great. But I've also had a few misses with the grilled chicken. But again, I am not good at any of this. It's just so hard to screw it up on the egg.
Yes.
That's what's great about it.
My question would be, why do you get boneless, skinless chicken in the first place?
Well, no, that's a genuinely good question. Again, I can't only eat red meat. I made this case. I said, why don't I eat only red meat? I'll die sooner, and then you'll get to enjoy the rest of your life. My wife was like, well, that's a good point. But still, Yeah, no, I occasionally try to make something that is not entirely unhealthy for me. And so hence the chicken.
Thighs are the way to go. You got to do thighs.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact that the grilled chicken has turned out the worst is sort of like, that's the universe's way of being like, what are you, an idiot? Don't do this.
So I found that with chicken, whether wings or thighs, you can go too low and it turns the skin into sort of a leathery type of consistency, which you don't want. So my go-to has been to start it with a smoke early at like 250, 275, and this is all indirect, then crank it up to like 400, all still indirect, and it takes about an hour, and still really good, really good. So especially with the thighs.
So I had a tragedy happen the other day. I went to go put my ceramic convection thing into the grill, and it cracked in half.
Oh, no.
I know. I was quite upset. Luckily, I already had beers to to provide.
Maybe the beers were why it cracked in the first place?
I don't want to overthink this, but you may be onto something. But I also got one of the egg extender so that it, you can kind of cook things off the grill screen a little bit. And so I did chicken and I did corn on the cob on that the other day, and they both came out like perfectly. The corn on the cob especially was it was perfectly golden on the outside, but not dried out, which is the problem I always have with the corn, because I tend to get lazy and kind of throw everything on at the same time, and it doesn't work well that way. But yeah, so the extender screens actually, I think, work very similarly to the convection plates. So I've been playing around with that lately.
The most amazing thing to me is that if this were like 2004 and I had a big green egg, I'd be helpless. But since it's 2020 and there's this thing called YouTube, you can learn anything, man. Anything.
It's funny because I have a lot of nieces and nephews that are in the, 6th grade to, I think I have 2 that are starting college this year, age group. And it's like, they spend half their day on YouTube. And if they have any question, like about anything in the world, the first thing they do is go to YouTube. And like, I've really had to condition myself that like, I don't know how to do this, so I'm just not going to do. Oh wait, no, I can just go look at a YouTube video. It really is a life-changing thing if you are under a certain age. At my age, I have to like remind myself that there's this thing called the internet that has the answers to all of your problems. Also has more problems out there for you to find if you want to. So be careful what kind of rabbit holes you go down on YouTube. But for the egg, you really can't go wrong. Yes.
Have you tried cranking it up to 650, 700, even higher, and cooking steaks?
I haven't done them at that heat. I have typically gone like around 400 to 450 on some steaks, but I have not gone like super high. Only thing that I've cooked at a super high temperature was we did pizzas one time. I got the dough from Publix. It really didn't work out as well as I had hoped. I think the key to pizza is doing your own dough. And I didn't have that kind of initiative or interest, but at some point I will. Tell me more about these steaks, though.
Yeah, just like a strip. The one thing you have to remember is you have to burp the egg, otherwise you're going to get a haircut. I've gotten several haircuts over the spring and summer. But basically, 650, 700, as high as it'll go. Throw them on there for 2 minutes, flip. 2 more minutes, flip again, and then shut it down for 2 more minutes. And of course, it varies according to size of the steak and all that. So you do need to try to check the temperatures and all that. But after you shut it down, you have to let that thing get down below like 450, or else when you open that thing, it's going to be a fireball. Scary. So after you shut it down and after that 2 minutes, open it back up as far as the vents. Don't open the actual dome. Open the vents first and let it get some air going through there, or else it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, the burping of the big green egg, and you're not the only person who has told me this, is maybe the most important lesson you can learn about your egg. And
if you like your eyebrows,
if you like your eyebrows, if you don't mind walking around with singed eyebrows, don't worry about burping the egg. But there's you'll learn a little bit about science and how airflow and heat work together. And if you fell asleep in those classes in high school, boy, Big Green Egg's going to teach you.
Do you have to get on this call with Dan Radakovich here at 10 a.m.?
Yeah, I guess I should do that, right?
I think I probably should too. David,
right,
thank you, pal.
Let's go see what Dan has to say.
Maybe we can just get him to join this podcast.
Just bring him in, and I like it.
Thank you, pal. Really appreciate it.
Yep, see ya.
Harris Flooring has been a major part of the facilities enhancements over at Clemson, not just with athletics, but also at the university level. And we are thrilled that they are a part of the Dubcast as a sponsor. Since 1947, the Junkins family and Harris Flooring have provided a unique shopping experience through value in their services, developing the right product solutions, and delivering on their promises. To check out some reviews on their work, just go to their Facebook page, Harris Flooring America. Rave reviews, just first class all the way. Phone number 864-642-6183. If you're a business owner and your business involves credit card processing, you need to reach out to Tandem Innovative Payment Solutions. A lot of different ways that Tandem can improve your bottom line by shaving off some of those expenses. In addition to processing credit card payments, Tandem also manages inventory, schedules staff, tracks sales, gains insight into customers, and gets transaction reports. With Tandem, you're not a number, you're a neighbor. Learn more about Tandem at tandempayment.com. Happy to have Founders Federal Credit Union on board as a sponsor with us. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. All right, joined by Sharone Wright, the former Clemson star whose fundraiser was in the news recently. Sounds like it was very well attended by a bunch of people who care a lot about you, and so looking forward to hearing more about that. Sharone, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How you doing?
Doing okay. So you're in Arizona, correct?
I live in the Phoenix area, yes.
Okay. And you were, well, first of all, tell us about the fundraiser. I know you were not able to be there physically. Is that correct?
Yeah, I wasn't there because I have a particular doctor that said that if I travel, I'm susceptible to get COVID. And he didn't want me to get COVID, pretty much. So he just kind of let me know, like, don't travel in that way and all that.
Gotcha. And so I think I read that Wayne Buckingham, who was a really central part in organizing it, raised, I think, $20,000.
It was $20,000. That was before all the expenses. But yeah, Wayne did a great job. I mean, he has always been a dear friend and former teammate. But he really stepped up to the plate with this. He really cares about my well-being and things that I'm going to be as a new amputee. And going through what I've been through this year, he was just real helpful in that.
All right, can we? I know it's probably difficult to recount, given that it's so recent. But you contracted a staph infection last year. No. I was in the swimming pool last year with my two little boys, and then I was on my knees and my hands. And it was jagged on the bottom part, and it was a dirty pool, a real dirty pool that had different agents in it. And it gave me staph, MRSA, and two other bad diseases. So
It gave me those, and then so I didn't notice it at first until I went on a trip 2 days later, and I had to come back home because it started slowing me down. I started getting fevers and chills and things like that, and I didn't know what it really was until I got to the hospital. And once I got to the hospital, I stayed there for 20 days, and then another 10 days after that, I went home and came back for 30 more days, and it was just really bad at the time.
Can you take me from? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And then at the end, in January, past December, a little bit past December, that's when I got the news that I was going to be an amputee.
So when was what month was it that you were at the pool?
I don't remember, man. It had to be last summer in July, something like that. And
then it was, you just skinned your, I guess it's skin, you, as far as you knew, you had just skinned your knee up?
Yeah, it was just my foot and my knee. I was on my knees in the pool because I'm 6'10", so I was playing with my little boys, and scraped up my knee and my toe, and then it got in that way. But it was a dirty pool anyway, so it was dirty. It wasn't chlorine tested, things like that. It was just a dirty pool, with a lot of dirty stuff in it. So.
And was this like at a rec facility or?
Yeah.
Has there been any attempt to maybe reach out to them at all? Have you been in contact with them at all?
No, it was more just swim at your own risk. I mean, I knew the risk going in. I mean, it was a community pool, so it was obviously going to be dirty. It was something, I didn't think about it at the time.
And so when you go to bed that night, is it still just to you? You just scraped yourself, but or like at what point did you start to think?
It took me 2 days because right after that, like I said, I went to a camp in Alabama, and then I did the camp for 2 or 3 days, and then I had to come home quick early because of the way I was feeling. So it took me a couple of days, and then I knew it.
And you were able to deduce that was what it was from?
I went to the hospital after that, and they told me that that was what was going on. I contracted compartmental syndrome. So.
And how old are your kids?
My 2 little ones are 13 and 10.
And can you just take me through the process of learning that something's wrong, and then obviously it's a long period of time, but then when you know that something's wrong enough that you are at risk of losing?
I started when I was at the camp. I started vomiting up blood, and then I started having just kind of heart palpitations a little bit. I was having chills a lot when I was over in Alabama at the camp, and then I just kind of noticed it being something different. I was feeling bad. I felt like I had the flu a little bit, but also I had tingling all over my bones. I had tingling in my leg, and it was just hard to keep anything down. The infection was really bad, and so I could tell it. You just can tell, like out of those things, you could tell something was wrong. And then I got on the plane and got back.
So 3 days later, you're already You're already vomiting up blood.
Yeah.
Wow. And then can you refresh? I mean, you said earlier you went to the hospital and stayed for how long initially?
The first time it was 16 days. I don't remember those days, man. Like I said, man, I had a total of 67 days, but they were all spread out.
And what, I guess it's kind of stupid to ask what is that like, but I guess I'm going to ask it. Just to deal with your family.
It is no fun. I can tell you that. It's being basically, I don't know. It takes a toll out on your body. Number one, and number two, it feels like knives are cutting you all day. And then your leg part, and then like the infection grew, and then the doctor said, "Okay, well, if you don't have this amputated, then it's going to spread to other parts of your body, so you got to take the leg off." And that was that. But for my family, obviously, it took a lot out of them because they had to kind of see it and watch me lose 30, 40 pounds, and they had to sit there and watch me in pain. And they couldn't do anything about it.
And so I guess January is when the procedure happened. Can you maybe just give your account of...
No, I don't want to talk about that right now. I don't want to talk about that.
No problem. As far as the since then... as far as a prosthetic, I
have a prosthetic now, and I'm working with it in rehab, trying to walk again. My goal is to walk before or even at Christmas time.
Okay. You've had a tough life. You had cancer in 2015?
Yeah.
Can you take us back to that?
It was just, it was prostate. I went through it. I was living in Florence, South Carolina at the time. Basically prostate cancer where I had a swollen prostate. And then I went in. It was the same pretty much. Just one day we were at an AAU event with my son, and then I kind of noticed my urine. My feces had a lot of blood in it. So I went to the hospital, and that's when they told me.
And what was that fight like? I guess over the subsequent years, you eventually beat it.
Yeah, it was a 2-year thing where, I had to go through it. All the chemo and things like that. I did like a lot of radiation, oncology, radiation parts of it.
And how did, can you tell us about sort of the genesis of the benefit? And I know that Tim Beret played a significant role in helping put that together as well.
He did. Tim and I have a great relationship. Always have. He's my favorite person in the world, man. But he and Wayne, WAB Sports, they really spearheaded everything. Tim helped, but Wayne was the one who just made everything possible. He really did. And Tim helped out a lot. But Tim was only able to help as much because he's so affiliated with Clemson, with the NCAA thing. So he couldn't be there, couldn't do certain things, but he did certain things also. He couldn't be like all in 100% because he does work for the university still in some capacity. So I understood that. But Wayne and WAB Sports, they really hit the ground running. All the volunteers, all the staff at WAB Sports.
And so then, what was the communication like? I guess you had a Zoom call with all the people who were all your old friends who were participating.
Yeah, but I had already been in contact with, me, Elden Campbell, Dale Davis, Wayne Buckingham, Larry Nance, Tree Robbins, we all kind of, Horace Grant, we all talk still. It's not like, we needed me to have this benefit to be close. Like, we're all close. As traditional Clemson bigs, we're all still close. So it's not like we hadn't talked or anything. So,
what were the medical? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what were the medical bills like?
Right now they're over $64,000.
Wow. And that's with insurance, I presume?
Yep.
Yeah. Can you tell if people out there want to continue to contribute and support your cause? Can you tell us the best way to do that?
Well, the GoFundMe is going to come down tonight, I think. But, just donations can be to I can just give my address, or whatever. But that would be the only way to do that.
Okay. Can you take us back to 1990 and maybe share your recollection of the recruiting process and what made you ended up being pulled to Clemson and Coach Ellis?
Yeah. I think it was probably all my visits were pretty good. I was ranked top 15 in the country, McDonald All-American, so could have went anywhere. And back then, we were just kind of feeling things out. And my dad, my dad was living at the time, and he wanted for me to go to a program that could be my program, where I would get a lot of tutelage and how to be pretty much an NBA big. And that was huge because Coach Ellis, every day, going to look forward, every day we did different drills, things like that, with Coach Ellis and things like that helped me. Like, it wasn't just like me, I'm going there and I'm going to be a good player. Like, he really worked, we really worked at being a NBA big. He felt like at the time that I had a combination of Elden Campbell, Hale Davis, Horace Grant. He felt like those three guys, like I had a lot of each one of them. I brought something from each one of them. And I felt like that too. And so he told me, he said, just come for a visit and you'll love the place. And at the time, I was going to visit Duke at the time with Coach K. I had already been to 4 or 5 other major schools. Me being a McDonald's All-American, I could go anywhere I wanted. Top 15 player, so I knew that. But it was just, when I got to Clemson, it was just something about it. It was like it was calling me. It was saying, "Come here, because this is what is going to change your life." And once I got on campus, man, I just enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved the lifestyle. I loved the people. I'm a Southern kid anyway, so it was right up my alley being from Georgia and stuff like that. So, but then, the brotherhood kicked in. It was like, come here. You're already pretty good. You're going to be one of the greats. And you're going to have a chance to submit your legacy here. Instead of going to Carolina or Duke and you're going to win games, you'll win a championship, but you'll never get to the pro level. You'll never get to a chance to have the ball in your hands every time down the court. You'll be a part of a fraternity with North Carolina, but that won't put food on your table. Coach Ellis knew how to put me in position to do great and do great things. And if we win some games, and we're going to win games, of course, and we did. We didn't win a national championship, but only one team is going to do that. So, man, I can't even name 5 people off of the last national championship team. That's what I'm saying. So you don't know them still. Time doesn't. You don't know them. But I can tell you who was drafted last year. I can tell you that. So again, Coach Ellis just sort of right on the wall with me. He treated me like I was his son. He really did. He treated me like I was his son. And my father died my senior year, and Coach Ellis just told me that he was gonna take care of me. He was not like monetarily, but just being there for me, and he did that.
Do you remember what Coach K's and Dean Smith's reactions were when you told them you were headed to Clemson?
Yeah, I don't remember that. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember that.
Did you? I mean, I'm sure it caused some surprise, just in general, whether back home or even across college basketball, that this McDonald's All-American.
No, not really, because Clemson had just won the ACC championship.
True.
It wasn't like they were like a long shot. Like we were, they were the ACC champions. So Campbell, Davis, that group, they were the ACC champions. It wasn't, wasn't like that.
Can you tell us more about your dad? You said you lost him. I guess it was the day that you signed with Clemson. Is that right?
Yeah.
And he was.
He died that day. That's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. That was a tough time. So.
And then your career at Clemson, pretty much everything you expected it to be?
Mm-hmm. And then some. It was great. I thought I was the best player in the conference the last 2 years. My freshman year was great. I thought I was the rookie of the year, but, carrying a team and things like that as a freshman. And I led the conference in 2 or 3 categories every single year. Yet, like I said, but we didn't win the games we should have won. So that kind of played a big part of it too. So.
And who are you closest with? I guess it's just the aforementioned guys that you mentioned, the sort of brotherhood y'all have.
Yeah, we obviously having a succession of bigs to go in the NBA draft every year for about 8 years. I mean, that was something. So, but I'm very close to, all my teammates pretty much, Lou Ritchie, Chris Whitney, they're guards, Wayne Buckingham. I was very close to Devin Gray when he was living. So we Rayfield Ragland, we all are still close. It's not like we're a stranger or anything.
What do you make of? It's been yet another tumultuous week with police shooting and, of course, all the fallout from that, including the NBA.
I just think it's really horrible. I love what Doc Rivers said. Like, I don't know when will the country love us the way that we love it? And it's just not. And this is, and I agree with All Lives Matter, but we're not talking about that. We're speaking about Black Lives Matter. Like, you can tell, like, this shows you that Black Lives Matter. Like, you can't have a white nationalist that walks around with an AK-47 and right in front of the cops, and he's already killed 2 people, and you just let him walk around. Or you can't have Dylan Roof. You're arresting him at a McDonald's eating a hamburger, but he's killed 9 people in Charleston at the time. He's already killed them. And it's just little things like that. We're just seeing too much of that. And it just has to stop. This is not saying that white lives don't matter or purple lives don't matter. This is the Black Lives Matter thing. So, like I said, man, I just feel so horrible inside. The whole situation for a man to get shot 7 times in his back by a policeman. We need police reform. We need justice. We need justice for Breonna Taylor. We're not getting any of that. We're not getting anything. And I just think it's more the leadership from the top. It's from that leadership. I'm not gonna say who the president is or whatever, but I just think it. Once you have someone who promotes it and does okay with it, it's okay for them. White nationalists, Ku Klux Klan, all type of racial inequality and injustice. When you have that, and the person that's kind of edging it on and not saying anything, and they're the president of the United States, and it just there are some that are going to be like, okay, yeah, it's okay to do this because the president's got our back. Our president's got our back. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff that hurts me. That I live in a country that would be that way, and so again, it's not about white lives, blue lives, purple lives matter. None of that's important right now. Black lives matter, and that I like that. I like that too. It's just like I said, man. You shoot one guy 8 times, then you come around the next day and shoot a guy 7 times in his back. I mean, you shoot Philando Castile, you Tamir Rice, you shoot them. You shoot, all these people that are getting killed every day. All right? And that's just horrible. It is absolutely disgusting. And we won't change. We won't change. We want to be different.
What do you say to I've heard this a lot lately about the NBA, criticism of, hey, stay out of the politics. You're paid to play basketball. Play basketball. We don't want to hear about your thoughts on politics or social issues.
Shut up and dribble. Yeah, that's a horrible thing. That lady on I don't know if it's CNBC or wherever she was, she told LeBron to shut up and dribble. Like, that is horrible. That is horrible. But that's just a microcosm of coming from. She's a Trump supporter, so whatever he thinks, that's like whatever is in your heart, it's in your heart. But if you got a leader that's standing by that and saying those same type of things, and it migrates down, it really does. It comes right down the line. People are gonna, people, especially closet racist people that have been for years, they've been in the closet. Now they feel like they can come out and say whatever they want. They can shoot black people anytime they want. They can lynch black people. They can do whatever they want to do because they feel like they got somebody in office that is okay with that, and they can get off from it. And it's like their time and all that. And really, there's no one's time. Nobody has a right to do anything bad to anybody. I don't care about the political landscape of it. I feel like that don't make sense to take someone's life or even protesters. Protesters are getting shot with rubber bullets and things like that, and it's just ridiculous. And for years, the KKK, anti-Semitic groups, white nationalist groups have been saying, we're going to do that. They've been saying that. They've been gathering guns. They've been, putting things in the hills and the woods ready for a race war. They've been doing that. And now they feel like with a president that lets them do that, and they're seeing that they can get away with certain things, they're just doing it. You can see it on the road. Sometimes with road rage people, they get out and white power and all that old stupid stuff. Like that is what they're doing now because they know and they feel like the country is changing and they're taking the country over in that way. That they can do anything. If it's coming down from the top that you can do that type of stuff, then they're feeling great. Like, okay, now we got a president that allows us to do these things. Because he's just like we are. That's what they're thinking.
We had Patrick Sapp on a couple of months ago, just trying to listen to his perspective, and we've had others on as well. Patrick shared an instance of getting pulled over north of Greenville, and the cop is saying, "You're acting nervous. Do you have a dead body in the trunk?" Just crazy stuff. It seems like a lot of these anecdotes, disturbing anecdotes, are coming out of the woodwork. Obviously much lesser than being shot in the back, but still just soul crushing kind of stuff that a lot of black folks have had to deal with and live with. That honestly, a lot of white folks don't know of, don't understand, or haven't considered. And part of this process, I think, is about listening and to some of those stories and perspectives. And so,
because I think, and that's why, like, there's no racist bone in my body. I think this ain't about white versus black. It's not even about that. This is just for me, you have, you actually think that you can do these things. We have people, being killed, being shot. Sandra Bland, we're getting annihilated every day. That doesn't mean that white people aren't either. That's not saying that. Every once in a while, you see it with white people as well. So it's about the real negative racial people. That's what I'm talking about. And that's my thing. I don't condone any black man killing a white man. I'm not condoning that. I think that's horrible. But it's the same. It goes both ways, though.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us and allowing us to learn more about your story, and we'll keep in touch, and really best of luck to you through a hard time. Just hope you're able to keep going and keep the fight and keep your spirit up.
Thank you, buddy.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks to Sharone Wright for sharing his time with us, and also David Hale of ESPN. Really appreciate also all of our loyal sponsors. Please patronize as many of them as you can, and also all the businesses that you know and love in your area. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.